one of the biggest upsides to working as a freelancer is one of the main disadvantages. I'll get into that in a second, but firstly, my name's Henry. I'm a lighting camera operator, freelance filmmaker, available for technical and creative hire. On this shoot, I was coming in as a second shooter to support Chris Hayward, who's now a good friend of mine, is also running his own video production business. I think we actually met through this YouTube channel, but had a few mutual contacts. This shoot was a simple interview and B-roll day for a university. Now, I've had similar experiences shooting in university buildings where you get these pretty generic looking academic spaces, which means a lot of white walls. Not too much to work with, but you can see Chris bought his full kit package, so we figured something out. To get into the topic of this video though, and I'm going to cut to some of the behind the scenes photos while I'm talking about this, being able to go on set with someone else and see how they work is one of the biggest advantages to being a freelancer. Instead of being in a fixed in-house team, you can see how different people communicate, the gear they bring, how they approach a shoot. It's so beneficial to get lots of different perspectives. At the same time, if you're not doing that and you're working on your own shoots, you're in your own little world, you're tunnel visioned, you're in your own echo chamber of what you think is or isn't working, you're very closed off to other perspectives. That's almost the opposite and can be just as damaging as being able to work with other people is helpful. So I think it's incredibly important to get the reps in working with others, working in a team. Also, delivering footage for other people is something which I've had recent experiences with and is a very different thing to editing all of your own footage. It's helped me to develop as a camera person. I don't think I'm there yet at all. When you hand off to someone else, you realise the responsibility behind capturing everything to a very high level. I want to take a quick break to be super nosy and look at some of the kit that Chris had bought to set. One of the things I noticed was that clamp holding that very large reflector in place and that large, dark, negative fill fabric in the background there, which Chris used to cover kit in his car, but also doubled up as negative fill fabric. And I want to draw particular attention to this lighting boom stand where the boom arm actually inverts and goes inside the lighting stand when you bring it in with that ratchet handle, which I thought was very nifty. You can see we've got more of that negative fill fabric behind the cameras here. And for lenses, Chris had these Zeiss Batis, I think they're f1.4. We used a 50mm and an 85mm. I don't think the focus breathing on those lenses is the best, but for interviews, they are really great. They're cost effective, and they actually have a little LCD screen to show you focus distance, which I doubt anyone actually uses, but I thought was quite interesting. At this point in the day, I was being as helpful as I could be. This was my first time working with Chris, so I didn't know how everything packed back into his bags and cases, but I want to say it was a very different experience working with someone who's driving to set as opposed to my usual day-to-day, which is trying to cram everything back into two very small bags, one which goes on my back and one which is a roller case, where I have to kind of figure out exactly how I'd packed everything. After interviews, we moved on to shooting B-roll around campus. You can see Chris running the gimbal here. He's got a briefcase handle to be able to pretty easily pull off shots like this. I don't know which gimbal this was. I'm assuming it's the RS4 or something like that. And something else that Chris had invested in was CF Express cards, which I thought was quite interesting. Not something I've personally ever wanted to invest in, but it makes a lot of sense when you're thinking about file transfer speeds at the end of shoot days. I have V90s, but I know CF Express cards are even faster. It's just that very last thing that you have to do at the end of a long shoot day, which anything you can do to kind of reduce friction at that stage is very welcomed. This is us returning back to the spot where we shot the interviews and packing everything down for the end of the day. I wanted to show off this boom stand because I think at some point I'm going to pick up some of these for myself. They are not the most heavy duty, but you can see they pack down really small and the boom extends quite far. They're not the tallest stand in the world, but they're tall enough for sitting interviews where you want to do a hair light. You can see the stand just beams out like that and you can get load of different angles, and then when you're finished with it, it slides back into the stand. So that's definitely one to take note of. And you can see we're just loading everything into Chris's trolley here, which we then wheeled out to the car, which again, very seamless experience. You're able to just throw everything in there, switch your brain off, chat to the client. It is, again, very different to what I'm used to experiencing, which is absolutely slogging it with a massive backpack. So lovely to work with Chris. Great to see how he interacts with the client. Chris has been so helpful, kind of giving me business advice as well over the last few months. So really nice to be able to come out and support him on this one, and to see YouTube leading to great work and real connections being made.